Let me tell you a story that every civilization eventually learns, but always too late. A story about money, surveillance, and control. A story that starts long before digital currencies, long before central banks, long before governments realized that the surest way to rule a population isn't with armies, but with the ability to decide what counts as money. Every empire that has ever existed has tried to control its currency, and every time the people trusted the system blindly, they paid for it. But what's coming next, the death of cash and the rise of programmable digital money, is something different, something more powerful than anything kings, emperors, or dictators ever dreamed of. It's the oldest story in finance, rewritten with 21st century technology. And if you don't understand how the pattern works, you won't even notice it happening. People imagine that money changed slowly, naturally, smoothly over time. But history shows the opposite. Money shifts suddenly, violently, during moments of crisis. Rome debased its silver denarius only when its empire was collapsing. Medieval monarchs clipped coins when war bankrupted their treasuries. The French revolutionaries replaced their old currency with assignats when the state was drowning in debt. Each time, there was a justification, a crisis, a promise that this new system would protect people, restore order, and stabilize society. It never did. Instead, each change created new tools for governments to extract wealth quietly, invisibly, without resistance. Now, we are facing the next transformation, the elimination of physical cash and the introduction of government-issued digital currencies, CBDCs. And the people cheering for this future have no idea what they're inviting in. The technology is new, but the pattern is not. Because when governments create a form of money, they can program, track, freeze, or expire. The citizens stop owning their wealth. The state does. And history warns us exactly how this happens. If you want to understand where the world is heading, start with an empire that learned this lesson 2,000 years ago. In the early centuries of the Roman Empire, money was simple, metal coins, widely trusted, universally accepted. They were physical, anonymous, untraceable, like cash today, and because they were physical, the government had limits. It couldn't create infinite wealth. It couldn't monitor every transaction. It couldn't reach into people's pockets with a keystroke. But when the empire began to crumble, when its debts grew, when wars multiplied, when the state needed more and more resources to maintain control, Rome discovered something. If you control the currency, you control the people. They began reducing the silver content of their coins, stretching them thinner, replacing precious metal with cheap alloy. It was one of the earliest forms of monetary manipulation, and it worked. For a while, people didn't notice at first. Then, they noticed too late. Their savings evaporated as the coinage collapsed in value. But the lesson the emperors learned was simple. Once you centralize the issuance of money, you centralize power. The Roman emperors could not have imagined programmable digital money, but they understood the instinct behind it. When rulers face crisis, they always reach for the money supply. Now look at the Chinese emperors of the Song dynasty. They were the first in the world to replace metal with paper money. Why? Because they wanted control. Metal was scarce. Paper was infinite. It was easier to tax, easier to track, easier to print. The government promised it was stable. Then it printed too much. Then too much again. Then it collapsed. The pattern repeats over and over. Every time money becomes less physical, the state's power grows until the money dies. But here's the part most people don't realize. In every historical case, even the most authoritarian governments never had the ability to control every individual payment. They didn't know what citizens bought. They couldn't stop someone from handing coins to their neighbor. They couldn't set an expiration date on money. They couldn't prevent someone from saving. They couldn't force compliance with a single tap. That level of control was impossible. Until now. That's the difference with digital currency. For the first time in history, Governments have access to a tool that goes far beyond minting coins or printing paper. They can create money that is not just digital, but programmable. Money that can be tracked, analyzed, restricted, or deleted. Money that exists only on servers controlled by the state. Money that is no longer yours once you earn it, but remains theirs, which they allow you to use. And this isn't speculation. It's already happening. China has been building its digital yuan for years. On the surface, it's framed as modernization, faster payments, better convenience, cutting-edge technology. But the truth is darker. The digital yuan is fully traceable. Every transaction, every recipient, every purchase can be monitored in real time. The state can freeze accounts instantly. It can restrict where money is spent. It can program expiration dates to force spending. It can ban purchases of specific goods. It can tie financial behavior directly to social credit scores. It is the closest thing to total economic control any government has ever created. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. Western governments are studying the same system, testing it, piloting it, selling it to the public with the same language every empire uses when expanding control, safety, security, stability, innovation. The Federal Reserve is researching digital dollars. The European Central Bank is designing a digital euro. Over a dozen countries already launched fully operational CBDCs. This is not theoretical. It's happening right now. And if you think your country is immune to using money as a tool of control, look at recent history. In 2013, Cyprus froze bank accounts during a financial crisis, seizing deposits overnight. In 2016, India invalidated 86% of its cash overnight, supposedly to fight corruption. Workers lost salaries. Businesses collapsed. Ordinary citizens lined up at banks for days, watching their savings disintegrate. In 2022, Canada froze the bank accounts of protesters. Not criminals, not terrorists, but citizens. No trial, no due process. Just a government deciding who could and could not access their own money. Imagine those powers, but automated, instant, programmable, with no cash, escape hatch. That's the future of digital currency. Governments rarely seize control suddenly. They do it gradually, invisibly, wrapped in the language of progress. First, they say cash is a security risk. Criminals use it, tax evaders use it, terrorists use it. Then they say digital currency is safer, traceable, regulated, protected. Then they incentivize it. Discounts, faster payments, social benefits. Then they phase out cash, slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up and physical money is obsolete. And once cash disappears, all alternatives disappear with it. If your entire economic life runs through a digital wallet the government controls, what happens when the government decides you spent too much on meat this month, or donated to the wrong political cause, or traveled too far, or saved instead of spent, or bought something non-essential? What happens when your money becomes permissioned, conditional, programmable? This is not science fiction. The Bank of England has openly discussed programmable money. The European Central Bank has published papers describing restricted-use digital euros. Chinese officials have publicly demonstrated money that expires after a deadline. The technology already exists. The infrastructure already exists. The justification, safety, convenience, modernization already exists. All that's left is a crisis big enough to force adoption. A banking crisis, a market crash, a cyber attack, a financial emergency. Every monetary transformation in history has happened during panic, during fear, during chaos. That's when governments make their move. Because in crisis, people don't ask questions. They want safety. They want stability. And if the government says the digital currency will protect them, they'll accept it. They'll embrace it. And once they do, there's no going back. People assume CBDCs are just digital versions of the cash we already use. They're not. Your credit card and PayPal transactions still run on private banking rails. The government can freeze accounts through courts, through legal process, but it must go through intermediaries. CBDCs remove those intermediaries entirely. The state doesn't request access. It has access. Automatically. Permanently. Imagine a world where taxes can be withdrawn instantly at the moment of income, where negative interest rates force spending, where savings cannot be hidden, where the government sees every purchase, where your financial life is fully transparent to the state, where dissent becomes economically impossible because your money can be paused, limited, or vaporized. You would think people would resist this, but most won't, because the decline of cash is already happening, not by force but by convenience. People tap their phones, they swipe their cards, they Venmo, they Apple Pay, they Google Pay. Cash usage has dropped across the developed world. Younger generations rarely carry it. Stores are already refusing it. Banks are closing ATMs. Society is training people to live without physical money. So when digital currency appears, they'll embrace it the same way they embraced smartphones. Quickly, enthusiastically, without understanding the trade. The trade is freedom. Because once you eliminate cash, you eliminate the last form of financial privacy left. When cash disappears, autonomy disappears with it. Independent transactions become impossible. The government won't need to knock on your door, it will just lock your wallet. And that's the part that should terrify you. For centuries, physical money protected citizens from total state control. Coins, cash, banknotes, they were anonymous. They created breathing room. They allowed dissent. They allowed independence. They allowed choices. Even the most powerful governments could not control every transaction. But digital currency erases that barrier entirely. It gives governments the power not just to monitor behavior, but to shape it. You buy what they want you to buy, save when they allow you to save, travel when they permit you to travel, demonstrate only when they allow it, protest only if they approve, disagree only at the cost of your economic life. That is the final form of currency control, and it's closer than people think. The transition won't happen overnight. It will happen the way every government power grab happens. Slowly, then suddenly. First, CBDCs will be optional. Then they'll be required for certain payments, government checks, tax refunds, benefits. Then they'll be encouraged for everyday use. Then private banks will begin integrating them automatically. Then cash will be restricted, then phased out, then forgotten. And once cash is gone, it will never return. No government gives back control of the money supply once it gains it. The end of cash is not just the end of physical money. It is the end of an era, the end of financial privacy, the end of individual economic autonomy, the end of the one system governments could never fully control. And that's why this matters. Not because digital technology is dangerous, technology is neutral, but because the people who control it are not. Throughout history, governments have always done the same thing. Once they find a tool that increases their power, they never stop using it. And programmable digital money is the most powerful tool any government has ever had. You are living through the early stages of a transformation that will redefine the relationship between citizens and the state. A transformation most people don't even see yet, but history sees it. History has seen it many times, and every time, the ending is the same. Money is control. Control becomes power. And once the state owns the money, it owns you. If this opened your eyes to what's actually happening behind the scenes, you know what to do. Subscribe. Because the transformation is accelerating. And when the end of cash finally arrives, you're going to want to understand exactly how we got here. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.